Good evening. Yeah, that 30-minute intro video has got,
That's a bop. I'm here for it.
We all have fun with that. So welcome, guys, to another Unspun Yarn episode. I've got my co-host, Aemy B. It's on her birth certificate, Aemy Blackfyre. She's with me tonight, as usual, and we've got our two bros in podcasting. Got Stephen and John. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And we've established this might be the first time all three dragons and the baby dragon are streaming together, which is weird. We've had all these different combinations, and I think this is the first time.
I think you are right.
This is a Polyam podcast fam all together at once.
Hashtag Polyam podcast fam.
It occurred to me, you said that, and I got to thinking about it, and I went, Aemy has never actually been a guest on HBD.
WandaVision. With Aaron.
Okay.
First 3 episodes. But I loved the crap out of that because John wanted to kill me. Because anytime I said in the comics, I could see his eyes roll so hard.
Okay, but Nessie wasn't there for that one.
Then yeah. This is the first time. Oh boy, this is exciting. Cheers to that.
And I've had those. I've had both John and Stephen on.
It's okay.
Not for.
And since we're bleeping it today, y'all, I've got my effing patriarchy wine glass from the Wine and Crime podcast. Yeah. If you're a true crime fan and like to drink, great podcast. I know, Aaron. I love you too. Content previews are a way of life, and I understand that, and it's not for everyone.
Well, we're not here to talk about Marvel anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
She was just reiterating that.
What
she
a
was
bummer.
just siding with John about his frustrations with me in the WandaVision stream.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about any content previews here because we're going to be talking about some personal stuff today. As we usually do here on Bleep the Patriarchy, where we bleep it real good. Today's topic is going to be one that's pretty close to a couple of my bros here, and it's toxic masculinity. And we're sharing our feminine space here that we've made for ourselves with our bros to, kind of bring this to light. As we've said before, the patriarchy hurts everyone, even the group that it is giving some preference.
Elevation too. Privilege.
Elevation, preference.
Yeah, just because you're privileged in a system doesn't mean you're also harmed by that system as well.
Right, and there's even hierarchies within that hierarchy, the upper echelon. So.
Yes, and race and class and sexuality all play a role as well.
But there's a reason alpha male is a euphemism anyway, because regardless of class or race, there is still a hierarchy of how manly is your manly.
Right.
And the guys with the big muscles who are aggressive, who are willing to use violence and or threats of violence to achieve their end, those are alpha males, and that's what toxic masculinity pushes you to emulate.
A lot of people want examples, and I'll give you one right now because I heard it when last time I flew on a plane, which was man up. What does that mean to you? And and John's exact reaction is because I saw a flight attendant, he was not being a very good flight attendant, telling a 4-year-old who didn't really want to wear his mask. Tiny kids with masks, it's tough, but you have to do it on a flight. It is federal regulation. And he was, kept messing with it. And the flight attendant told a 4-year-old to man up. That's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
There's an easy example, but a lot of people ask, what is toxic masculinity? Hopefully you've had some sensitivity training at work and have learned a little bit about it.
Well, and that's one of the things that's important about this conversation and for John and I to be here for it. I'm the first to recognize that toxic masculinity has done far more damage to not men than it has to men, but it has done its damage to us as well.
But it is a cycle, though, because it does damage to men, which in turn does more damage to those who are not men, and you know, so it's all sort of circular, and it's just pervasive and shitty.
It also does damage to people who are transitioning into trans people. Trans men obviously deal with issues of toxic masculinity and being accepted by cis hetero men in society. So it's the reason that, you know, particularly trans men of color are the highest at risk for violence, right? Is because of these kinds of ideas that are fed into everyone, you know, from the time they're born by society, which is what? Patriarchal.
Patriarchy. I mean, and by definition, the answer to anything that threatens your masculinity being violence, it's definitely no wonder that these groups of people are experiencing higher levels of violence than other people. So that certainly tracks. And what you were saying about the cycle of regenerating, you know, generation after generation, I mean, who teaches men how to be men? But you know,
will you allow me to go off for a second?
Go off, Stephen.
Yes, please.
Because all right, I have been very guilty of toxic masculinity in my past. It's one of the things I've spoken about, maybe not in depth at any one point, but I have mentioned I have a past that I have some regrets about, you know.
I mean,
and we do, but you know, I'm going to speak a little bit more candidly. You know, I have been not the best romantic partner. I mean, I've never been a violent person in a relationship, but I have abused my station as the man to my benefit from time to time, you know, and a lot of times you do that in order to broadcast this idea of who you want the world to think you are, you know, especially among other men. You know, oh, I've got to be man enough to be one of the guys. And I worked in a very male dominated industry throughout my 20s. And part of the deeper recognition I have of that in my later life is that a lot of that was because my father set a standard for me as to what a man should be. And I was trying to live up to that ideal standard, which of course had been taught to him by his father and reinforced by the society, especially, you know, 19th or 20th century American society was very, you know, you're a cog in the machine and you're strong and you are the man of the house. Like, such an antiquated idea, but it's still part of the vernacular because it's so ingrained in our culture. And it was so ingrained in the culture that I was raised in that I often acted against what I feel now are even my natural impulses. I was going counter to my true character in order to live up to the standards set by my father. And that's the perfect example of the cyclical nature. And it becomes part of your your subconscious. And I don't know that it was ever part of my true personality, but it was part of the mask that I forced myself to wear around everyone. And that's down to the types of things you say when there's just other men around, and the types of things that you allow those men to say, and you don't call them out and say, you know, that's kind of bullshit. You shouldn't talk about people like that. You know, and it's not something I'm proud of, but that's why I want to be here to have this conversation, because I've experienced firsthand. I've come out the other side, and I would hope that the ladies, and well, really, I say ladies, I'm again, forgive my binary wired brain, everyone everyone who comes to watch our content, my content specifically, would feel that they are valued based on their character, the way they treat other people, not how well they live up to the ideal of being a man, not how well they live up to the ideal of being a woman, or any of those things. What kind of a human being are you? And maybe my sort of revelation I had many years ago about this topic has led me to being wanting to be so vocal about it, because I'm like, spent so many years hoodwinking myself into believing that this was the right way to be, that I caused a lot of harm to myself, to the people I cared about, to my children at times, to my parents at times, to my brothers and sisters. Um, and But I am also a living example that you don't have to live that life. You don't have to be perceived as super macho to be well respected and loved and cared about. And we'll get to loved and cared about later, I'm sure. But I'm sorry, I just wanted to. I'm really passionate about this topic. That's why when Nessie said it, I'm like, I have to be there for this one.
He really did.
I know this is a venue you've created largely to amplify the voices of women in our fan community, and I love that. But I'm like, I have so much to say. I know I'm a white guy, and like, forgive me. I love amplifying other people's voices as well, but I feel so passionately about this one. I couldn't let it go.
Well, you have a voice too, Stephen, and we're really excited to have it on here. And I just amen to everything. And thank you for sharing your personal experience. I'm also curious, and we have plenty of time, but I am curious, Stephen, to know a little bit about how having daughters too kind of change your perspective. If you want to, you don't have to. J-Dubs, your rants. I'll just start with your rants question, because I don't even know what question to ask you. This is such a large topic. And I know it's very personal to you as well, J-Dubs.
Where do I start?
You talked about this a little bit in the stream that you did with me and Buddy Banter.
Yeah, which is why I don't want to necessarily start by recapping all that, although we'll certainly get to that. I'm not wearing my Tira shirt for nothing today. But in other areas, I didn't even realize it at the time, but I really do believe that the difficulties I had growing up in school are majorly attributed to toxic masculinity, because I've never been the type of person who I'm always sort of more, I guess, emotional and just not, I don't present that sort of strong stereotypical male image that was so evident in guys at school. And I think it's the same reason why I had trouble talking to girls too, just because I was more reluctant and shy, and there's an image that is that's the word I'm looking for. It's encouraged in the school, schoolyard areas, and I was bullied in school as well. And that's part of toxic masculinity, where those people are looking to exert their dominance over so-called weaker people. And I've just never I've never had that in me as sort of part of my personality. And so I think that it made me even shyer as a result, because I didn't know how to exist in that sort of system. And so I just retreated more into myself, which is why I didn't talk to many people growing up. I've talked more in the past year and a half to all you guys than probably the total of the rest of my life to other people. And it's just because I didn't feel comfortable. And that all goes with me not being able to present myself as sort of the example of what a guy should be and how a guy should act.
Yeah, John, you said something that resonated with me so hard about your difficulties talking with women.
Yeah.
Which is something I also experienced. And it's because you have this ideal that they're not going to want me because this is what a man's supposed to be, and I don't match that. So the women want men, this is what a man is supposed to be, and if I don't achieve that, what's the point of even trying?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I got over it to some degree, but even that was not an easy road.
I think early insecurities in our lives they never leave. They're just dormant for a while, and they can all easily come back. As someone who struggled with weight throughout high school and gained the Rona 40, I can relate to that. A lot of my insecurities have come back that have not been there for probably going on 10 years now. So, yeah.
Oh, they're always waiting.
They're always there waiting for you.
And I actually do want to follow up on that topic of, since you zeroed in on that, Stephen. The irony is, like, when it came to, like, when I was forced to work in like group scenarios on like group projects and stuff in school, I actually found it really comfortable to be able to talk to girls if they were in the group, especially if it wound up where I was in a group with, say, 2 or 3 other girls and there were no other men. I actually found it really easy to converse on a sort of friendly level because I don't fit into that mold of, what a stereotypical guy should be. I think I found it easier to communicate to girls, but not in any kind of romantic capacity, only if it was limited to, we're just going to be friendly to each other and I'm not going to have to worry about trying to flirt or
feel rejected or any of that.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've actually always found it relatively easy to communicate with girls on that level, just so long as there's not even the expectation of attempting anything else or anything else being expected. But then I had no if the idea was even there a little bit that, oh, I'm interested in this person, complete shutdown. I wasn't able to function. And I think that's just because, as you were saying, Stephen, I adopted the attitude of, what's the point? I'm not going to be able to achieve anything there anyway.
So how did like putting on these different masks, like you were talking about, Stephen, how did it affect you when how did you feel when you finally were able to be the person that you were wanting to be, when you were able to pull the mask off and start introducing the real Stephen, or the Stephen
and let's be honest,
the becoming Stephen?
That's an ongoing process. Let's be honest.
That's why I said becoming, because we're all getting better.
It started probably around 2008, but no, that's not true, because it didn't really kick off until I left my father behind, and that would have been starting around 2011. Okay, so 2 years on.
What was the catalyst for you?
I don't even remember, but I was moving back. I moved back to Dallas. I don't even, just the economic opportunities where I was living at the time were so terrible, and there was much more economic opportunity in a big city like Dallas. So I moved back to Dallas.
So you completely changed out of what you were doing, new environment, new Stephen, new stuff.
And I moved from a rural Texas setting to a very cosmopolitan, urban, or much more urbanized setting, which, I know plenty of wonderful people who live in the country, but there is a division of political thought and sort of like local society between rural Texas and urban Texas. urban Texas is an island of blue surrounded by a sea of red politically. But how did I feel when I finally did that? Well, again, it happened so gradually. It's hard to say this is how I felt at the time because there isn't one moment. But I mean, it was a few good years after I got away from living near my father and interacting with him all the time before I realized I really just don't care what you think anymore. Now, I could tell you at that time was one of the most liberating feelings I've ever had, where I genuinely was like, I just don't care. And stopping caring means I don't have to live up to this ridiculous toxic masculinity standard that you expect of me. But there's also a lot of shame and regret associated with going so long and making these really horrible decisions based on this ridiculous ideal of hypermasculinity.
That's good. So it was kind of freeing for you in a way to.
It was, but like shame, you know, you ring a bell at me. Shame, shame, shame. Like
bang my gavel. Wait, I had a bell. Oh.
Again,
my bell is all the way across the room on my altar. I apologize.
I never physically or sexually assaulted anyone, but you know, I had ridiculous standards and ridiculous notions about what was expected of me and of my partner. So anyway.
Wow.
And that's part of the reason that I wanted to do this so much, that feeling of like, I've made the mistakes, learn from my mistakes. Let's not send a whole other generation down this path of man up, be a man, put on your big boy pants, you know?
Yeah.
But there's a reason most of my friends are women. John is one of my best buddies. Don't get me wrong. John, I love you. But I think you'll find that most of your friends are women too, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So John, I mean, for you, wasn't like this big breaking with your dad or anything. What, you were just kind of like coming out of your shell, or
hey, Freud says never discount the dad when it comes to the son.
I love
when it comes to what is a father, it is your first male, you know, figure. There's a reason father figure is a term.
Mm-hmm.
I love my dad dearly. He's not perfect.
Waiting for the butt. Waiting. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. I mean, he does sort of, he is a product of, you know, of his own upbringing and time and, you know, all that stuff. So like, I mean, I went through the whole thing where growing up, I was encouraged to play sports. I think I had a year where I played basketball, which I only really enjoyed because for part of the season, he was the coach. So it was a way for me to spend time with him. But then I also played baseball for a little bit. And this was when I was really young. I had sort of wormed my way out of that by the time I was older. But there was this expectation of you're a young boy, you should be interested in playing sports. And I never, ever was. And yeah, I've heard plenty of times, you know, I heard plenty of times throughout my childhood, grow up, be a man, that stuff. And it's funny because as much as I've always enjoyed sort of more artistic things and geeky stuff, there did come a point where when I was a teenager, I think, where even though I'd been enjoying that stuff for years, I said to myself, you know what? This is me. I'm weird. I'm a geek. That's okay. Stop judging yourself for not being that other thing that's more socially accepted. And it wasn't like a big sort of revelation or turning point, but but I do think that was valuable for me to kind of accept that about myself, and eventually led me to the point where I am now, where I'm, you know, in a great big group of friends who are, you know, proudly, you know, nerdy and geeky, and so I think it's all sort of a long winding road until you get to a place where you feel like you belong. But part of that was letting go of those sort of societal expectations of what I should be. And part of, and obviously this is what I was talking about, where I'm sort of retreading ground I've covered before, but not joking, not being like, you know, winking at you guys or anything, but a big part of that was letting go of sort of this idea of I can only have what's called masculine interests, where it was those damn Keira Knightley movies, where it encouraged me to think outside the box and be like, you know, when I saw Pride and Prejudice, I was like, what the hell is wrong with me for enjoying this so much, and for getting like really emotionally invested in these characters. But I loved it so much that at a certain point you realize, no, I'm responding to this and I want more of that. And so I just started opening myself up more emotionally to things, and that has been a very big part of my journey as well. It's not the only part of it, but I think it's a big part. So yeah, and I don't think I could have gotten on that road without breaking a little bit away from sort of what my dad expects me to be, because I would have undoubtedly been more heavily engaged in sports and more manly activities if I just did that. But yeah, it's like I said, it's been a journey, and I'm very happy where I am now.
I have a confession to make.
We're glad you are where you are, and you're the lovable John that we've all come to appreciate.
This is confessions of a thirsty bi girl. I have really terrible thoughts about women sometimes, like very toxic masculinity thoughts about women. Look, I struggle with that as a feminist.
There are no thought police, okay?
Yeah.
I have had thirsty thoughts about people, but as well. But like, there is nothing wrong with finding a person attractive. It's if you allow that to become more important, because man, toxic masculinity me want, me take, me have. You know.
Yeah,
I do get that. I do get stripped down to that debased form.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Okay. You don't act on it, and you don't treat that person like they are an object even if you do have those thoughts.
Here's the thing, and Amy can attest for this. My thoughts are not as innocent as I actually present out. I will plead guilty on thoughts.
Okay.
But I do try, and but yeah, it's the way that I treat people and present myself to the world.
I mean, we're all like, we all have a little monkey brain in there.
Yogi had me on his Troy Sivan podcast. And I mean, it was so hard to talk about the lyrics and not be like, God damn, he's so hot. Just like, I need to offer analysis. And I just can't.
I'm going to ring the shame bell at you, Amy. Shame, shame, shame.
Thank you. Screw it. I'm getting my gavel.
We've had guests on here be dragons, and I'm like, no, that is an attractive woman. I'm attracted to women. You know, it is what it is. Some of them I've been like, yes, very attractive. But like,
and viewers, if you can guess which one.
No, like, don't even try, because you might not. Doesn't matter. But like, I bet you can't go and I bet you couldn't just listen to the stuff and tell. You know?
No,
Like,
you do not flirt with your guests. It's really
No.
surprising, Stephen. Also, I know you have had a lot of gorgeous women on the podcast, haven't you? Maybe as nerds that you got to know around November.
well, here's the thing. I've had a lot of nerds. Some nerds happen to be beautiful women.
Yeah, they do. I've noticed the majority. I've done a statistical analysis, and it seems that you're
Oh my
getting there
God.
on the men, but you really have interviewed a lot of beautiful women. Oh, I'm sorry, can we move on?
Yeah, I mean,
move on?
we're having this stream about toxic masculinity, and we've already.
I told you I have a problem. I admitted it this whole
We've already turned the corner into making this a
first-
thirst stream. It's like
I've already
come on,
taken the
guys.
first
Come
step.
on.
I've admitted I have a problem. I don't know what more you want.
Yeah, is there a 12-step program that we can like get you in, Amy?
Yes, actually, Sex Addict and Love Anonymous, a slaw. I've been to some meetings. I'm not lying. If Jenna were here, she'd be like, I had some problems in my early to mid 20s.
Well, I mean, who amongst them?
I don't want to get up and touch my AC and ew. See where my man is. I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to adjust my AC, so I'm just gonna sit here with this.
Okay. Can I
All right.
respect toxic masculinity?
Yes,
Thank you,
please.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It really does. We're bleeping it.
Like,
Bleep that shit.
okay, I'm fairly happy with where my life is now, but like, as a retrospective on my life as a whole, like, so much I missed, so many relationships that I'll just never get back because of the way I felt like I should act because of what society expected of me. Like, again, I'm not so closed-minded as to think that it's done more harm to men, because that's a ridiculous notion. Women have suffered much more from toxic masculinity than men have. But, or we'll just say non-men have suffered more than men have. Non-cishet men. I'll get there. I'm trying to like.
I'm really proud, Stephen.
I'm really
I really
trying to like
am.
nail my thought.
No,
But
you're really.
You are not the
But
bum.
I am a cishet man, and I've worn a dress.
Stephen,
to
I
the
declare you
convention.
an ally and a good one.
Thank
It
you.
is done.
Thank you.
I don't know why I enjoy props
I've
so
worn
much.
a dress. I love shoes. I love musicals. Like,
Musicals.
and these are all things that I have denied about myself in the past, or just kind of a, oh, I'm not gay, but I like shoes, you know? Well, no, I can just like shoes.
Yeah.
You know, I can like Converse and Jordans and, you know, Doc Martens. I can like that. And
It is becoming better with hip hop, though. They rap a lot about their shoes.
But
Right.
it's not like, Stephen, it's not like you're going to go rocking that Leanna dress to a job interview or
No.
even to a bar.
Oh, God,
you know,
he'd get the
where-
job immediately. He looked
But-
fabulous.
But how about a world where I could?
Yeah, I was going to say that
Amen, Stephen.
it's a problem. It's a problem that's something that needs to be. But you wouldn't wear that out, you know, such and such place. Whereas women are perfectly fine to go wear a suit, you know, somewhere.
I mean, a woman in a white button-down shirt and nothing else is like one of the definitions of that's so sexy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just when you did, I'm just going to bring this up because you recently talked about this, was when you were at last time's Con of Thrones, and it was time to come into the bar at the VFW. You were faced with nothing but
Soldiers in uniform.
soldiers in uniform.
And I felt the toxic masculinity like a wall. I bounced off it like a force field.
Yeah, it was.
And
It's like a portal.
And the thing is, nobody engaged me at all. They all had their backs to me because they were facing the bar. So I don't know that anybody ever even saw me walk in the door.
Men never sit at a table and look at each other and talk like women do. They stare at the bar, grunt at each other, and look at the TV.
But
you're the bartender.
Which is why I don't do well at bars.
Right. But there was that palpable, like, and to be fair, nobody treated me poorly there. No, I didn't give anybody the opportunity, but I'm not trying to shame anyone. Nobody did anything wrong by me, but that I don't know what would have been, but like, you fear that.
Yeah,
You
it,
fear
it was
that,
just a
like,
force field that you
right.
just could not. I understand. I get it. Um, you know, it would have been, had they turned around and say someone dressed in an, I don't know, very sexy evening, or it may have looked good on them, but it didn't have to. They weren't trying to impress anyone, but just walk in dressed very sexily,
Mm-hmm.
and that they would have hit that same wall at the door, like, ooh, if I walk through this door, I may feel like a piece of meat.
I actually have a question for Nessie, because I went through a tomboy phase, as they like to say, and really found out about toxic masculinity. Nessie, how about you growing up, as far as like people trying to correct you if you were not super girly, because
Well,
trying not to do
yeah.
masculine things?
Well, I wasn't really super girly. I wasn't like into doing a lot of typically masculine things, like I wasn't into sports or, things along that line. But I was less, as I would put it, I was not domestic.
Okay.
I was trying, like my grandmother, bless her heart. She was very, she was a big influence on me in my upbringing, and she wanted to teach me all of these womanly skills. And I'm like, I'm not good at that. Like I can sew a button. That's about the extent of my sewing skills. And like both of my grandmothers could like make entire outfits and a whole set of curtains, and whip out a whole, pillow, anything. If they wanted to make it, they could. I just had no interest in it. I'm sure I could have learned and, gotten the
My
basics.
apron and home ec was terrible.
Yeah, those things, like I just wasn't really interested in doing things like that. And I was more interested in, say, hanging out. And my grandfather had a shop, and like my uncle would be taking things apart and putting things back together, taking things apart and putting back together. And I like to do things like that. That was what interested me. But I was very much pushed away from that, and like, no, girls don't do this. My brother was, okay, say what you want to. We're just going to go ahead and talk about this. Like my family had a gun shop. My grandfather was a gunsmith, and he repaired and sold shotguns and things like that. We live in a very
Very masculine, phallic symbol of power. I'm here for it.
very much so. And I was not allowed into that world. Um, and I was like, I want to go out and I want to shoot this gun, because they would have like targets and things in the back. And I was like, this is fun. I want to go do this. No, not even a minute. So that was okay, Stephen. But see, that was like a big part of my family.
I mean, I know there's a lot of, like, your gun laws. I don't want to get into politics. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
I lived in the country. We hunted animals for meat occasionally, and feral hogs in Texas are also a very big problem. It is what it is. I bought my daughter a gun for her 10th birthday. I mean, it was a little 22 rifle, but like, part of my journey into my own self-discovery, though, was, as you said, you brought up my daughters before. I have 4 daughters, no sons.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Thank you, Stevens, everything. Thank you.
I very much did not want to force them into conforming to gender roles. Like, you don't have to wear a skirt. You can wear a skirt if you want, but you don't have to. You don't have to put on makeup. You can if you want. My oldest didn't even like really start trying makeup till 15 or 16 years old. Like, she just wasn't interested. I actually thought she was she was probably the least girly of the bunch. Girly. forgive, like I'll get past it.
These are legit terms that are used in
Yeah,
our
but
culture, and
right,
while we may not
but
agree with them, we have to.
I can
refer
say
to them.
girly. Understand that I just mean traditionally feminine. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are also, other terms like unladylike, these kinds of things. There are definitely, both, anyone, society tries to put us into two binaries, whether you're non-binary, trans, any type of queer, anything. And so Nessie and I were forced one way, and, John and Stephen were forced the other way. And so we're both going to suffer from toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, everything toxic. Just bleep the toxicity, y'all.
Yeah. Well, I will give a shout out to my uncle. He would always, whenever he was out in the back where the range was set up, he would always let me. So I will shout him out. And he's raised 3 girls, who are very, very strong and independent women. So I will give him some props for that. But yeah, they were into like competition shooting, and they would go to different competitions on the weekends. And this was something like I was really interested in. And I'm like, I could do this. I was a pretty good shot, but it wasn't allowed. So yeah.
I mean,
I am scared of guns, but I really like archery.
Archery too. That was flat out.
I actually don't think I had I don't think I had a better demonstration put on me about like how dangerous weapons can be. And this wasn't like something that caused any great harm to anybody. But I remember that my friend growing up had like a bow and arrow or something, and we were playing around with it, and we were apparently allowed to play around with it. But they had an outdoor pool, like, and not like, it wasn't like underground. It was like just, one of those outdoor pools that's just sitting there. And I had the bow drawn, and for some reason I stupidly ended up pointing it in the direction of the pool. And of course this caused a leak and stuff. But imagine like if I had fired that in the direction of like a person that just happened to be walking by, or, you can imagine any number of far more dangerous outcomes. And like if a freaking arrow can, could potentially do that kind of damage, like I couldn't even contemplate like holding a gun and doing things. And it's funny because that's been a thing in my family. I'm not going to call anybody out because I don't want to piss anybody off, but there, guns were a thing in my extended family growing up, and I've never understood it.
Symbol, so
I have never understood it. Because like you can make arguments about sort of personal safety in the home and all that stuff. We won't get into that, but like for the purposes of having a fun time and going out and shooting animals, I don't understand it. I really don't. And there's all kinds of things said about, oh, it's a tradition, it's this or that, and it's like, why?
I'm a vegetarian, so everyone knows my views on this, so I'll just leave that there.
I don't understand it. I never have. These are very dangerous weapons. I mean, it's funny you say dangerous weapon. A weapon is dangerous. That's why it's called a weapon. Mm-hmm. So I thankfully have never sort of grown up, having the inclination to touch any of that stuff. So.
Yeah, I have family from rural Oklahoma, so I'm not unaware.
Yeah, I'm not trying to turn this into a gun law or gun rights.
But we can, but it is a phallic symbol of power, so it comes up in a toxic masculinity stream.
I will say, like, I brought it up as a way to illustrate I don't want to enforce gender norms on my daughters, and and this is a related, but they're sort of like they're not parallel. I guess they're parallel opposites. Is that women are allowed to be more masculine, but men are not allowed to be more feminine. And
right.
you know,
That hierarchy only goes one way.
Right. Because, all right, because men are dominant. You know, quote. You know,
Preferential.
notice my air quotes. If you're listening and not watching the screen, air quotes.
Yin and yang must be imbalanced, but there is a
Right,
hierarchy.
exactly.
The male is favored over the female.
And there are.
I think you mean yang. Amy,
Yeah, don't you mean yin yang?
I hate myself so much right now.
Well, I mean, but that image of the, you know, we see it in how many movies, how many flicks, media sources of the protagonist is this gun-toting, he's hyper masculine guy who just, he's either former military or he's some type of a vigilante and he's out for justice. And it's like,
why do people freak out when, you know, certain roles are recast as women, like Ghostbusters or stuff like that?
And it's even more than like, I was just thinking about this, like, I'm guilty of enjoying this type of thing in movies as well, but like, we have this image that the leading man should be like a man's man, you know, like it's super tough. But like it's so ingrained in us that even as I'm calling it out, I'm like, I was watching True Lies the other night and I enjoying Arnold being Arnold, you know, and you know, so it's just this thing where we went through. We're actually in a time right now where it's sort of okay for leading men to be a bit less of that stereotypical image. But then I constantly hear like, well, you know, why can't we get back to a time where the leading man was, you know, tough and all that? It's like, why are you so challenged by, you know, what you refer to as a weaker man, you know,
right?
Like, so
it's you the dominant. Why do you feel threatened by me when I'm not achieving that dominance?
Yeah,
like I'm not alpha, and therefore, like I represent some threat to you. And the answer to that is yes, they do. We do represent a threat to them because they are told that being that alpha male is the position you want to be in. And when somebody is successful, when another man is successful outside that context, it challenges the foundation of their belief system. Which, you know, go challenge the foundation of anybody's belief system. You'll see them get real upset real fast.
Like when I use she when I talk about God to make people who are trying to get me to come to church go away. They'll ask me about church, talking about God, and I'll be like, is she really all forgiving? And they're like, he is all, and then they just eventually walk away. It's really when you challenge people like that, you know, it creates a ruckus.
I mean, hold on. I'm going to pop this from Blue Lemon Tree because she nailed it. You can be strong and that you can achieve that sort of alpha male position without the alpha male attitude. And you brought up Arnold Schwarzenegger earlier, and I think he actually is a really great example. You know, I don't agree with all of his politics, but he has always seemed to me. Look at a movie he made in the 80s. You know, that is probably feeding toxic masculinity. Things like Commando and Predator and whatnot.
Wait. Are you telling me that Conan the Barbarian is toxic?
But then like.
I hate that I have class soon and have to leave the stream because I have so many thoughts about the rest of it. God dang it.
I'm going to finish up my thoughts though. But then you fast forward.
No, keep going. You're the guest. You're the guest.
And you get to Terminator 2, which has Linda Hamilton kicking lots of ass. But she is perceived as awesome and badass. Why? Because she is trying to live up to that toxic masculine ideal. Look at those arms. Look at her kick butt and shoot stuff and be emotionally distant.
Right.
You know?
Right. I just pulled up something that's called male protagonist bingo under toxic masculinity, and like right in the middle of everything is at the bingo point is called the anti-hero. It just exudes everything that we've been talking about. It's like he's a brooding outside loner that doesn't fit into normal society, and he just the whole anything never cries, never gets in touch with his emotions. He's cold. Everything is just blasé, like
No, he's allowed to feel anger.
anger. Yeah, that's the only emotion that and lust, anger and lust.
Anger and lust. Even
Yeah.
when he's happy, he's not allowed to be too happy.
No, he's like, oh, this is frivolous. I'm not, everybody's partying. I'm just gonna stand in the corner and brood. I don't dance. What's the thing about men don't
Why
dance?
don't you just dance? I'm sorry, I'm having a flashback to so many dates. Just fucking dance with me. What is wrong with you?
Hey,
I'm
John,
sorry.
let's make a movie where it's two men and they just fail the Bechdel test the whole time.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I can't with oh no.
And we just talk about girls and clothes.
Oh. I love it so much.
But no,
probably like it.
but I want to step back for a second, about the whole dancing thing. It's like, and yeah.
Hold on. May I for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, never mind. You deleted it. I was going to put the Zemo dancing gif back up for a second, but.
Yeah, no. And I've always.
Only thing about me is the way that I walk. Sorry, that's basically that song's about being like, I ain't got nothing. I'm gonna try to get with this woman. And you're like, I'm not worth shit. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, and like I said on the stream about Falcon and Winter Soldier, is like everything about this series is just exuding toxic masculinity.
Okay, I know this isn't about Marvel, but the whole Winter Soldier, like it's just like the Captain America, just the super soldier.
I need to put a shock collar on you guys, and every time you start talking about Marvel, just zap you.
Well, I mean, that's the
DC has it too. Lois Lane can be this intrepid reporter, but can she be like the masculine, this strong figure necessarily that Superman can be? Anyway, I'm sorry, this is for another day.
Anyway, dancing.
Yeah,
it's like
why is it such a thing?
And it's sort of
when guys know how to dance, it's so sexy.
I'm trying to listen to John.
Sorry, I am too.
I mean, it's the typical thing. Women talking over men. It happens all the time.
I know it happens all the time in this space. The Unspun Yarn is a matriarchy. I'm sorry. I have to go to class right now anyway, so I will. I really do. I have to leave. I have class in 3 minutes. And so I don't want to. I don't want to miss everything John's going to say, but I have to go.
Amy,
bye, everyone. I have class.
He's sick.
I know. Yeah. Look, you have one less woman to talk over you now. So
it's like
it was great to be on with all three dragons. I really have to go to my class.
She can't possibly ditch class. There is actual live video evidence.
It's right here, so I have to go.
This is true. Amy does not have a time turner. If she did,
surprise, surprise, still have to go to class, and it's on Zoom, so I have no excuse.
Yep.
So I have to go. All right. Bye everyone. Bye. Thanks for everyone in the chat. And have a good rest. I'll rewatch it and be sad about not being there. So bye-bye.
I was listening to the hip hop in my head. Oh, I'm sorry. Total side note. Somebody released that 20-second video clip over the Star Wars Cantina music. And it was
my God.
Perfect.
Yes.
What about
on Twitter and follow
I'll get to it.
Emo dancing. Oh my God. It is one of the best things on there right now. Let me see. Zemo dancing, and it's a little, like
Well,
you
what
said.
about-
Sorry. No, I'm not going to let this Marvel talk continue.
What about John dancing?
Yeah.
I will see that one day. It is.
Well, no, it's like I've been in situations before where, I've at least attempted to dance, but it's this whole thing of like this ingrained notion of being, sort of masculine. And if I can't pull off dance, I feel enormously insecure. Even when I went to GTCon in 2016 with when I met up with the guys from Game of Owns, and Hannah invited me along to the Wizard Rock concert, and where it's just filled with a bunch of geeks and and stuff, and everybody is just sort of letting go of their self-consciousness. I could not bring myself to like actually full on dance because I was just so nervous about how I would look, and so it's this larger idea of not wanting to completely sort of expose yourself. And yeah.
Potter raises a great point. Dancing is one of those things you don't have to be good at it to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's just about just having a good time, freeing yourself. Who cares what you look like? Always dance like nobody cares what you look like. Because if you did, nobody would ever get up and move unless they'd had like formal dance training or what have you, and they could like do all the moves and just look fabulous while they're doing it. So yeah, even though I do enjoy watching a good dance off. I will say I do enjoy watching a good dance off.
Okay. I'm sorry to inform you, Nessie, I have only ever been involved in bad dance offs, but
I will.
I always
dance off between you and John. I will pay.
No, see, I always just adopt the line from Angel. I always say 3 things I don't do: tan, date, and sing in public. But you can extend that to dancing as well.
Oh, Mandy.
Oh, wow.
You came and you gave without taking. Sorry.
Now I'm imagining like you and me actually doing that.
John,
like at the con.
When we get to the convention, we are dancing together.
Yes.
I will try not to get too handsy.
It's going to happen, people. Well, it's 8:00. We've just blasted through that first hour, and unfortunately Amy did have to leave. So I guess it's a good point as any to do the mid-roll. First, I'd like to just thank everybody who's shown up today for this live. Ridiculous Ed, buddy, thanks for showing up. We've got Kate Bertinsky, Matthew Dominique. Hey, nice to see a new name in the list there. Reflective Rambling. I saw Danny McKay. Of course, Betsy, Mother of Starks, is here. Lady Leaf Underhill, Aaron M. Potter. Oh, rolling back up. Oh, the Blue Lemon Tree. Yes, she's recently joined our Slack group, and she's been a joy to have there. Kelly, the Jaded Redhead, is here. Cloaked One, there's a new name. Good to have you with us today. Isabel Harper, and I think we're coming to the end of that. If I've missed anyone, I'm sorry. I'm just glad that everybody's here. Thank you for coming. Guys, what do we got going on? Stephen, John, what's up? What's going on in John's world here coming up soon?
Yeah, so we're still prepping the podcast. I actually have the video version ready to go of our first one, so it's all about just fine-tuning the audio version, which we need to launch at the same time, but we're getting there. Honestly, the fact that we haven't launched yet is the whole reason I was really excited to do that birthday stream. So by all means, go to John Webster Film and check that out. We had a really fun time. But the podcast is coming soon, and yeah, I don't really have anything else to announce.
No, I mean, you guys have needed to take this it was a much needed break so that you guys could do your reboot and get refreshed and ready for all that. Steven.
And Amy has been like so incredibly busy with school related stuff. So actually, I think that this, for that reason, and for the fact that I was just exhausted and needed some time off, I think we chose probably the perfect time.
Right on. I know I've certainly enjoyed the little hiatus that we've had just to get refreshed and rebooted and ready to put out another episode. So, Steven, what you got? What's coming up? We know the schedule, but share some stuff with these guys.
So next week we will be back to the I Know That Nerd series, where I will be interviewing Cecilia from Geeksteralia. She is most of you guys probably know her at this point. She's been a guest on Here Be Dragons a few times. She is a Spanish language nerdy podcaster herself. Her English is very good. She's also such a delight, so smart and fun and funny. So I'm really looking forward to a deep dive 2-hour conversation with Cecilia about Cecilia.
Yeah.
And then the week after that, I'm going to throw this up, probably doing the next season of the Clone Wars. I did not feel well all day today. I slept way more than I was awake, even at this point in the day. That's true. So, that is what it is. I have not felt great today. I didn't get any Clone Wars watched, so I've got like 10 days to cram a season. I could probably pull that off still, but cross your fingers for me. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers for you, Steven. I buzzed through. I got caught up because I hadn't even gotten through second season because you guys did that one without me. So.
Oh, that's right. God, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, it's been almost a year. I buzzed through the second season, got through the Mandalore arc, and I just got to the Mortis arc. So yeah, I'm well through the season.
Yeah,
yeah,
because admittedly the first half of season 3 is a little slow going because they deal with some of the more political arcs in the first half, but the second half of season 3 is insane with the stuff they get into. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that, and I'm looking forward to talking about it. So hopefully we'll be able to get it in this in the coming weeks. And I've got another episode of Bleep the Patriarchy scheduled for, let me pull up the docket. It'll be in 2 weeks, and it'll be the makeup episode for Bleep Ahoy. I've got Kelly, Jaded Redhead, and she's going to be coming on and discussing all types of maritime misogyny and other malarkey like that. So tune in. It's going to be a blast.
I really like your alliteration there. Maritime malarkey, maritime misogyny, and other malarkey.
Yes.
That's good
stuff.
It's
a brand, Steven. It's a brand. But yeah, I am looking forward to having Kelly come on officially for that one. She hates that name of Bleep Ahoy. She does, and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, don't worry, Kelly. I'll be in the chat to troll you mercilessly.
So yeah, we got some great stuff coming up in the future. All right, and we're back. So
Nessie, I'm going to step away for just a minute, but I will be listening, and I'll be right back.
Oh, sure, we'll be right here. So John,
put all the pressure on me.
Yeah, we'll put all the pressure on you. We'll just start with you this time. Like you've talked about how the media that you like to consume, like you spoke about that on the Buddy Banner, that types of media. How have you seen say other forms of media like glorify? I mean, how do you feel about that when you see these blockbuster films and people are always talking about this, that, or the other, but then when they have, say, you and I both have a love for The Last Jedi, a deep love, and where you have Luke's arc in that story, it just takes a very, very different turn from the the types of ending for him that people were looking for.
I think it's really telling that, and I'm not saying that this is the reason why everybody was enraged at The Last Jedi, because there's any number of reasons, and as far as Luke goes, there's certainly, if you're someone who things that Luke might not have done certain things that he does over the course of The Last Jedi from a character perspective, and then you feel strongly about that, then more power to you. That's how you feel. But I do believe that there is also a sizable portion of people angry because he does not sort of fit in with that ideal of what the hero Luke Skywalker is supposed to do. He makes mistakes. His victory is more of an intellectual victory, as well as providing providing tangible help in helping the resistance to escape. But he doesn't do it by actually going out in all his bravado and waging this big fight. It's a deceptive tactic, and the fact that it's all being generated from his mind through the Force I think really strongly represents that, and that he outwits Kylo. And going back to what I said about the mistakes he makes, it's the idea that even the hero, just because you succeed, earlier in your life, does not mean that you then don't make terrible mistakes, as you go on. It's not a simple, I won and now I'm always super. I always make the right decision. It's it's a constant battle, and that's a sort of showcasing a what some might call weakness, but like a vulnerability and real basic humanity. And it's telling that so many fans cheered the stuff in The Mandalorian, which I don't dislike. I even quite enjoyed, but it's telling that him showing up and demolishing a bunch of droids, in a scene that's reminiscent of Darth Vader killing, a whole bunch of rebel soldiers, that scene that's my Luke, as opposed to the Last Jedi version, which, by the way, that's the same character. The Last Jedi Luke has learned from the mistakes of his youth, and when he says in The Last Jedi, because I was Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master, that's what he's referring to, that he had bought into that image of himself that's on full display in that badass scene in The Mandalorian.
You can like both, and I do.
I'm not saying you can't, and I did start off by saying I even enjoyed that part, but what I'm saying is when you hold that up as that's Luke done right over what we see in The Last Jedi, I think that feeds into this whole thing of, no, I only want my hero as a badass.
Right. I don't want to see my hero having failed. Yeah. At a point in his life when he's dealing with that failure, and the only way that he felt like that he could just stop that cycle of violence was to shut himself away from everyone and everything that he loved, and exile himself to that lonely island way out there and just become a hermit, and I've done bad. By me teaching others, I've let bad things, I'm responsible for this bad that's in the world now. So yeah, just seeing him deal with that failure, and still in that end scene, trying to redeem, trying to make amends for that failure, because he was trying to get to Kylo. He was trying to reach him, in that point. He was being vulnerable, you know, even though he wasn't physically going to be physically vulnerable, but he was there and he was trying to reach him on a personal level and, you know, and admit that, you know, he was wrong.
And I cannot fully express like how much of a thrill the moment is when it's revealed that he's not really there.
Oh,
that this has been deception and that he's used his actual brain to outsmart. And when it cuts back to him on the island and he's like floating in the air and you can see that this has been sort of manipulation on his part. Let me tell you, that elicited more of a cheer from me than
I've got chills
than things like in so many of the previous years of going to the movies has given me. Like, I think I may have actually jumped out of my seat. I was so excited with that reveal. Because that's sort of heroism. That's like, he hasn't put himself in the middle of that and you know, shown himself to be like, you know, let me show off with my lightsaber and do all this. He's achieving victory the way that he feels he can, and then the way that he feels is the right way to do it. And it's just, for me, that's the ultimate representation of the Luke that I admire. And the kind of thing that I want from a hero.
That is the Luke that I admire most, but I also like the Luke that chops the hell out of robots in a hallway to save a Mandalorian. I can't help it. It's awesome. But like this
well, I mean, they weren't living beings. Let's just go ahead.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. That is what it is. It's cool to see him do the cool
point
thing,
for him.
though.
Yeah.
But like, this is about toxic masculinity. And if we want to divide things between the traditionally feminine and the traditionally masculine, we you know, for the sake of making arguments about this thing, that's what I'm going to do for a moment. So if I say manly, womanly, understand that what I really meaning is like the way that American culture has traditionally, our recent culture has traditionally viewed these things. And I like things that are from both sides of that spectrum, you know, like an actual well-rounded human being.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't think that the Luke of, you know, the Mandalorian, you know, chopping his way through, you know, a bunch of droids, that's not demonstrative of any kind of toxic masculinity. He's doing what he needs to do. Like, there's no other choice. They're going to attack him. You know, if he's going to get to them, he needs to do what he has to do. I'm more talking about not Luke as a character, but the response.
I get you.
That, and I'm not talking about you, Stephen. Like, you are totally free to enjoy Luke, you know, like kicking some ass, because that's our hero from childhood.
I'm trying to agree with you, John.
Okay.
I'm trying to agree with you in that I like both aspects. Like, I can like a lot of. I love dance. I used to watch Dancing with the Stars, and so you think you can dance. I love it. I'm not a great dancer. I took a couple of ballroom classes in high school, so I can do some basic ballroom dance type stuff, but I have an appreciation for it as an art form. But that's not a manly thing. But I can also like playing games where I run around shooting things in the face or conquering the galaxy. Yeah. You know, like it's possible to enjoy things that are traditionally masculine and traditionally feminine and still view yourself I view myself as a man, as a cishet man, you know, just because I'm okay with wearing a dress and dancing and that, like, doesn't make me not a man. It might change the way other people perceive me, but I've said it before, the only labels that really matter to me are the ones I give myself. So, like, and man is among them, but toxic masculinity has no part in my life anymore, and I feel like I'm a much better man for it.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you're supposed to be the provider of your family, well, you can determine the definition of provider very broadly, because, you know, it's like the man is supposed to be the provider and the woman is supposed to be the caregiver in a traditional binary man-woman relationship. But there's so much crossover between providing and giving care that those definitions become almost worthless to me. You know, providing for your family doesn't mean just bringing home the bacon, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means that making sure that this house is clean, because clean is good. You need to provide a clean living condition. Maybe part of providing for your family is cooking the meal.
Yeah.
Maybe part of being a caregiver is caring enough to go out and get a job to earn the money for your family, you know, which is the more traditionally masculine thing. Like, it's the more you think about it, the more you realize that these divisions between men and women are really pointless or don't hold water at all. They're just fabricated to keep a certain class of people doing what they want, and to force a different class of person to take on the responsibilities that they don't want.
Right. And it comes down more to responsibilities as opposed to like traditional roles. It's like this is a family unit, and there are responsibilities that come along with maintaining this family unit, and how those responsibilities are divvied up amongst the individuals within that family unit is totally, up to whomever can do the best job possibly, or who wants to do it, who feels.
I'm sorry, I just noticed something Cassie said in the chat, and it's an excellent point. Can someone explain to me why it's okay for men to man the grill, but heaven forbid they ever roast a turkey? I've made this exact observation, and we're going to harken back to some of the less some of my less glorious comments of the past, but I said it before. I have said cooking is women's work unless fire is involved. And like, what a ridiculous notion, obviously, but you're right. Men can cook as long as it's outdoors with a beer in their hand and there's fire.
Yeah.
In which case I am failing miserably. Because
Sorry, John, I can teach you.
Because all my cooking is done inside and usually involves the oven. So
yeah. I mean, it's just something primitive and primal about.
Again, I can bake a cake. I made a pineapple upside down cake one time. Blow your mind. I made a coffee swirl cheesecake. You'd love it. I can cook, and I can also cook on the grill. I can cook on the stove or the grill.
And it's funny, and that sort of goes into me like not fitting into the box of traditional masculinity. I guess because like the idea of actually cooking on a grill with like live flame unnerves me. It's like, no, that's okay. Like, let me just go inside and do this the safe way.
Oh yeah, but Potter brought up a great point there that chefing is a male-dominated sphere. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I know that. I know that Aaron has to be very happy today as well.
Yeah, both my brothers are rocking the facial hair today, so yes. But yeah, in the professional kitchen that way, the chef is the leader, and they're making all the decisions, and it's very much it's okay to be a man in that type of a profession. But you put women chefs have to battle uphill for that position, that if say they were it's okay for you to cook at home, but not for all these people. No, this is a profession. Yeah, so yeah. There's that.
It's crazy, like the things that men aren't allowed to do, but there's an asterisk next to them. Oh, you can do it if it's got these manly qualities, whatever qualities to it. Like, right. Who said it? Made a good point that chefs are the ones who are giving orders in the kitchen. Okay, Kelly did. chefs dictate orders to others. So
Right.
that masculine, I'm in charge.
It's a clear hierarchy, and there's
Yeah.
fire and utensils involved, which are very phallic. So a spatula is a phallic symbol, and tongs as well. Just saying. But yeah, tools are involved. There's, these tools, and there's flame, and there's, it's heat, and there's guys hanging out being guys, and yeah. So, but I work in a largely female-dominated profession in healthcare. But, when there are males who want to enter into that roles, it's become a lot more acceptable now for you to see male nurses, in any area of healthcare, any sphere of healthcare. And every one of my male coworkers will tell me this, anytime that they walk into a room, they are automatically assumed that they're a doctor. If a woman walks in the room, we're all considered nurses, but if a man walks in the room, he is immediately considered a doctor because of that hierarchical system, that just because, they're in healthcare and a man, they must be a doctor. So, but we all wear our pajamas to work, so it's cool.
Although I am starting a new job, yay! Everybody clap! I'm starting a new job in about 2 weeks. I'll be starting, and I will no longer have to wear this button-down polo shirt and black pants, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
You're not gonna have to put your suit on and your hat and your button up to go out.
Not quite that, but yeah, I had a work uniform. Now all I have to do is just put on the smock when I get there, and yay, good to go.
Yeah, we're all happy about that, Stephen. It's going to give you a little bit better work-home ratio, and you'll have more of a regular schedule to do D&D stuff, and we're all very happy about that.
Yeah, I think Leaf raises a really good point too about it being arbitrary based on culture.
Yeah, I pulled that up.
And she's right. In other cultures, it's perfectly normal for men to hold hands or like hug each other or kiss each other's cheeks when they greet each other, like even though they are more repressive of their women in other ways.
Right. And even express emotions like cry, just to express more, just to express their emotions more. It seems like some cultures are a little more free with those type of things, where crying in public, even whether it's a sad occasion or a happy occasion, just seems to be, completely a non-starter for, a lot of men. That stoicism that is just built into, hyper stoicism that's built into the structure of toxic masculinity, that just shuts down every emotion, or even just the acknowledgement that they even have those types of emotions is what's so damaging.
Heaven forbid in our culture if a man cries. That is the ultimate demonstration of
don't watch a movie with me
of weakness. Otherwise, unless they're crying over the outcome of a sports game, then maybe it's okay.
Or then you just go out and express yourself in violence with, having a, roll over some cars, or, have a riot, or punch somebody.
Like I'm just saying, like, every time I went to go see Fellowship of the Ring, and spoiler alert, but guys, he always dies when Boromir, aka Sean Bean, dies at the end of the film. I cried every single time I saw that in theaters, and that's not unusual for me. I tear up very easily at stuff, and not just talk about movies. I mean, I get emotional, and sometimes it's easier for me to just cry things out, because it's that or bottle it up, and I do not do well when I bottle things up. It becomes unbearably like oppressive on me. And
I am
so,
incapable. I am incapable of not crying in those situations. Like you can tell me don't do it, and I'll sit there and I'm trying not to, but it doesn't matter. I get ugly cry at movies sometimes, and it used to be a thing that I found to be very embarrassing. But what do I care? I'm emotionally available. That's not unmanly. That's human.
yeah.
And maybe that's one of the points that I want to make before we get to the end, is that that toxic masculine ideal is not human.
No.
It denies so much of what makes a person a whole person, that it is that people who aspire to that ideal end up feeling very inhuman.
Yeah. Well, John, I'm really glad that you brought up Lord of the Rings there. I mean, of course, that's on brand for you, but I did want to bring that movie or that series of movies up because it is a quote traditional fantasy type genre movies, but you don't see the toxicity in it that you do with a lot of other films, because you do get that scene like you were discussing with Aragorn and Boromir. You do see men interacting with one another with emotion and feeling. I mean, it's a predominantly male movie. The characters in this movie are
And there is
predominantly
so much, the characters wear their hearts on their sleeve. They're emotional toward each other. They're open with their feelings.
they care about one another.
Just the way like Merry and Pippin relate to each other, the way Frodo and Sam, and even the more sort of typically sort of male leading hero of Aragorn, the way he relates to Legolas and Gimli. And more importantly, I think, is the way that the audience relates to those characters. You actually get grown men getting emotional over those films with more regularity than I think you do with other things. And it's like, if you're willing to show emotion watching like Pippin finding Merry on the battlefield, then why are you so afraid to show emotion in other areas of your life? It's a wonder to me.
I can't remember the channel. I'm actually going to try to find it right now. But some time ago, after I knew we were going to do this, I watched a video about Aragorn and toxic masculinity and how he's
Therapy Bros. It was the Therapy Bros.
Maybe it was
movie analysis.
Cinema therapy.
Cinema therapy.
Yeah. Okay. Where it's like literally Aragorn, at least from the films, is a pretty flawless deconstruction of toxic masculinity. He literally kisses Boromir and weeps openly.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was talking about, Stephen.
So,
and actually, and also I will say, like, even though I just said that, like, the audience actually is willing to sort of be openly emotional watching, that's not universal. I remember experiences of going to the theater and like the more sort of openly emotional moments, and you would get these, idiots in the theater kind of laughing at that stuff and rolling their eyes and saying, and I'm quoting from other people, so please forgive me, but they'd go ahead and say things like, "Oh, that's so gay," like when the hobbits all see each other again, after Frodo wakes up at the end of the film. It's like, that is what's wrong. That's toxic masculinity, and that's what's wrong with our culture, to then try and put on this bravado, quote unquote, manly attitude, degrading, other people while you're at it. And when you see that stuff, why don't you try actually opening yourself up to this moment and realizing that you don't have to have this toxic persona. It's like you're filled in a theater with people who are here to emotionally engage with this story. You don't have to put on that bullshit image? Why don't you try actually engaging with what's on screen and be honest with yourself? And that always frustrated me, and was actually one of the things I enjoyed most about having those movies come out on video, because I didn't have to listen to anybody else's stupidity while watching those films at home. So, but yeah, I think those films are a great example of, deconstructing all that, as you were saying, Stephen, and the way that Aragorn, and more so in the films, you're right, in the books, he's also a sort of hero for the time in which each version of the story was done. And back in Tolkien's day, Aragorn shows a bit more bravado. He has the sword from the get-go, and he proclaims, "I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn, heir of Elendil," because that's the that was typical of the hero, not just of the time in which it was written, but in the stories that Tolkien was also taking inspiration from. Whereas when Lord of the Rings was made, we liked and still like the reluctant hero. But even so, I think that Aragorn in the films was a bit ahead of his time, because of the years in which those films were made. You could have easily seen an adaptation giving you a toxic version of Aragorn, where he's again, quote, a man's man, and all that stuff, but he's so openly emotional, and just those, like you were saying, those gestures of kissing like Boromir on the head, and the same thing with the end of the films when Frodo kisses Sam on the head, and touches like that it does away with all that toxicity, and I think shows how men can and should relate to each other.
Yep. And I find it very gratifying that a lot of men that I know who are manly, typically masculine, try to play that front, they still cry during that movie. It still gets them. They might say, "I'm not crying, I'm just watering my beard," or what have you, but that just seeing that emotional response even says a lot to the film itself. And I think we all can say how much we love those films, and the storytelling and how positive it is that in a world of heroes who are just constantly trying to outman the other guy in the room, you have such a quiet and unassuming and positive figure such as Aragorn that can counteract and counterbalance a lot of that. So no wonder it won so many awards, huh?
Yeah, and it's great. It's great that Aragorn has those softer moments, but he also has those leadership qualities and those like action hero moments. So he gets to be both.
He can be both.
See them perfectly sort of integrated into one person, because he's doing the the badass hero thing, but he's doing it because of his emotional investment and his care. We will not abandon Merry and Pippin. We care about them.
Yeah.
So that's why we're going to go hunt some orc.
Yeah. And there were also, I remember hearing things at the time like, Vito's too soft-spoken for the role of Aragorn. It's like, no, that was what was so great about him. It's this guy who is not necessarily, like, when you see him pop up in Bree, he's not someone that you immediately see, taking the mantle of king and delivering these big speeches and leading, people into battle, in that sort of traditional heroic image. But I like the fact that we see him, like, even when he delivers his speech, it's more like the way he delivers it is sort of more down to earth. It's not, adopting this big speaking, hero voice. It's saying, but it is not this day. This day we fight. And he's like, it's just something where he doesn't sort of abandon that sort of more, I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for, the softer approach to his character. So it doesn't give itself over to that typically masculine.
You don't see him pulling a mask. You don't see him pulling that mask on the more he comes into this kingly role that he's trying, that he's fulfilling. He just becomes more of what he already is. Sean put the note in the chat about the hands of a king or the hands of a healer, meaning it's, he's taking on this responsibility to heal this broken land, to bring these people together, to heal the hurts not only of his country, but also the hurts of his friends and his companions and the people around him. He has this nurturing quality to him that is very much necessary, as an aspect of a good ruler. That he genuinely cares for the people that he is there to lead. So yeah. And
as much as I go on about how much I just love the story of Lord of the Rings for its own sake, and it's a great story, but once again I go back to saying it was no doubt incredibly important that this was a story that was so sort of fundamental to my evolution, not just as a movie lover or a book reader, but as a person. I came to Lord of the Rings at such sort of a pivotal moment, because I think the first film came out when I was 17. And I read the book about the year leading up to that. And so I was very impressionable at that point. And I don't think it's an accident that, at that point in my life, that this was the story that hit me. And I think it's representations of sort of friendship and, relationships and, and how you relate to other people and what you fight for and things of that nature. I think that it really struck a chord with me and shaped kind of, how I think. And so I'll never be able, unless I actually get the chance to meet him, I won't be able to thank Peter Jackson enough for that. Who knows, maybe one day.
Yeah. Well, we've kind of touched both of you guys as heroes on this episode. And
I was just thinking about that.
Those were two things that I really, really wanted to bring up, because I know, Steve, you said, Luke Skywalker, the character of Luke Skywalker is a hero to you, and it influenced a lot of your life. And I can see that. And as well with you, John, how you both kind of embrace this aspect of yourself, denying the toxicity that you were brought up in and surrounded by, to kind of gravitate toward these heroic type people who are trying to be better than what's around them.
Which by the way, it's something that I didn't bring up before, and I meant to when we were talking about sort of my dad, and which by the way, the last thing I want to do is have this be sort of a pile on my dad thing, because
you said that. Yeah.
He's a absolutely amazing guy, and in moments where I was actually struggling with stuff, he would be emotional with me, and he would I remember occasions when I it's funny how you remember stuff, but it's I can remember getting sick at school, and then days when I had to go home early, and he'd pick me up, and there was just something about he knew I wasn't feeling good, and he'd sort of hold me tight as we were walking to the car, and I just remember feeling really safe. So none of this is to say that he was sort of emotionally closed off. He was always there for me in that regard. At the same time, I will say that I had a relationship with my mom that I think was pivotal in sort of how my how emotional I allow myself to get. And I think, it wouldn't surprise my dad for me to say that, I think I have a closer bond with my mom. I think it's just the nature of things. There's a bond that you have with your mother that's a whole different thing, but it's the fact that she was the one that I always shared films with, and if I was upset about something, I'd go to her and feel comfortable like actually crying and saying what I was going through. So like I can't express enough like how important she has been throughout my life in terms of that. And like I said, she was my movie buddy. So like I always went to the movies with her when I was younger, and so just as much as I could probably pile on to my parents about various different things, they are some really great ones.
I piled on my dad earlier, and like I make no apologies about it, which is not to say that I don't love the man. I do. I just got to the point where I didn't care what he thought about my approach to my personality and whatnot. Like I stopped caring that, I was the one that I was put into baseball when I was very young. I probably was 8. And I was put onto a baseball team because we were going to go stay with him in the summer. We lived with my mom. My parents were already divorced at that point. And we went to stay with him for the summer, and I was put on a baseball team. Never asked, never given the option to not play baseball. My dad loves baseball, so I was expected to love baseball. Now, I understand probably a portion of it was so that there was something for us to do, because he kind of lived in a really small town in the middle of nowhere. There wasn't much option for us to do, so it was some sort of socialization. But like, I was never asked. And I don't watch sports now. My mom watches more sports than I do, a good bit more sports than I do. So I get where you're coming from about like, and it's not like he's never been genuine with me, and it's not like he's never been there for me. It would be wrong of me to insinuate that my dad never did anything good for me, because that's just false. But he did establish a set of parameters that he expected me to fit into, and I was never going to receive his approval without fitting into that box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I stopped caring about the box, and I'm like, I still can love my dad, despite the fact that he's disappointed in me for not living up to his ideal. Although I will say, like, when I talk to him and I'm very self-assured about who I am today, and I'm like, I'm great, I'm happy. And yeah, my life has a lot of things in it that you told me were a waste of time, like Dungeons and Dragons, like playing video games, like all that, all that stuff that when I was a kid, you told me was not just unproductive, but like actively harmful to my development or whatever. I do that stuff all the time. And look at the friends I have around me. Look at the satisfaction I have in my life. Like, I think he has come to accept on some level that maybe I don't have to fit into his box. Now, I still don't, and I have an older brother who very, very, very much does fit into that box, and they're close. But my mom is in the chat here right now. My mom is in my chat section every Sunday. Why? Because my mom and I have such a better understanding of each other. And you talk about movie buddies, John. My mom is my movie buddy too. Now, granted, it's Star Wars and, what do you call it? Marvel movies that we go to, but we went and saw the Lady Gaga A Star Is Born together, and not the best movie I've ever seen, but it was good, and I enjoyed that my mom went with me.
Yeah,
my dad has probably no desire to see that movie, but he's not into the music, and at its heart, it's a romance story of some kind. My dad's just not interested.
It's not his gig.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't like implying that neither of you loved your dads, because love and following in their
Well,
formula are two different things.
yeah, I
know?
think there's, I love my dad insanely, and my mom as well. But there's also the point you get to where you need to sort of step outside of the idea of what they want for you or they want you to be, and realize that you have to sort of take charge for yourself. I'm not like and as far as like what you were just saying, Stephen, about there's stuff that's important in your life that was discouraged. I can't tell you the number of times it was like, John, you should really just, move on from Lord of the Rings, or okay, enough's enough. Just let it go. We can't take it anymore. So
yeah, but were you told Lord of the Rings is harmful to you?
No, well, maybe not in so many words.
Okay.
Or a waste of time and energy.
Yeah, I think that they were more sort of subtle about it. I have no doubt that both of them would have rather, after the first couple of years, I had moved on to something else. But it's like it was such an incredibly
tired of hearing it.
Yeah, it was just such an incredibly important part of who I was, and actually, it's funny. I don't remember which one of them said it, but I think it was like a few years ago. One of them actually said, "Yeah, I have to be honest. I really thought the time would come when you grow out of it, but but it just never happened.
Hasn't gotten here yet."
Well, when a story resonates, it resonates. Like, people are like, "What's your favorite movie?" Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, that movie's from 1980. Yeah, and doesn't matter. It's been my favorite movie since 1980. There are other movies I love a lot, but I don't think anything's ever going to knock that one off. There's you find that thing, it resonates, and that's it.
And that movie is all about Luke throwing off all the expectations of his dad.
about breaking with his father and
talking about toxicity.
And in the end, rejecting violence, and choosing to take the path of caring and believing in someone. I mean, I think Aragorn maybe does a better job, but he's also, at least movie Aragorn, but he's also a more modern character. He's has the benefit of 20 years of societal growth.
Yeah. But then you do get that with, The Last Jedi, and you see all of that come to fruition. Everything that he showed such the potential in Empire, it really just comes full circle, in those moments. So yeah. Yay Luke and yay Aragorn.
Which, by the way,
get your kids to watch Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, especially.
As much as I've talked about how much of an impact Lord of the Rings has had on me, but like I'm right there with you as far as Luke, Stephen, because we've actually talked before, like that image of Luke, all in black with that green lightsaber. Like, that is, when I actually went to Star Wars Celebration about 10 years ago, I guess it was maybe a little more than that. I had Mark Hamill actually sign that picture of Luke on the sail barge with the green lightsaber out. And it's like, that is sort of my sort of mental image of, idolizing Luke as a kid. And I had the green lightsaber toy, which I would be outside all the time playing with. And so, yeah, that was like before Lord of the Rings hit. Yeah, I went through a number of years before that where Star Wars was like everything, and it still is to a degree. Sure. It's just
like
it's just made.
We love each other's thing, but like,
yeah, it's just made room for certain other stuff, and that's the thing. Like those sort of true loves that we have, in terms of movies and stories and stuff. they don't go away even when other stuff like joins the ranks. It just becomes something that I think you hold on dearly to. And
so John, if you had to choose between your love of Keira Knightley and your love of Lord of the Rings, which way?
You're evil, Nessie.
This is why I'm your sister, because I adore picking on you, and this is it. So yeah, which one?
You can only watch Keira movies or Lord of the Rings for the rest of your life.
That's not fair.
Now the prequel counts,
you know. I'm with you. There are things you could hold up to, like there's not much I would.
You can watch The Phantom Menace. It's fine.
Since I am
right, you can watch The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Yeah, which like I mean, well, this wasn't a Star Wars stream, so that's why we didn't get into that. But like I'm going to totally state my claim right here in case anybody had known it and say that I love The Phantom Menace. So there's that. But yeah, Aaron's just gonna kill me. So since I can pretty much guarantee that Keira is not actually watching this, I'll go ahead and side with Lord of the Rings just because of the enormous impact that's had on me. And I don't actually believe that I'm ever going to have a shot with Keira. So there's that.
It's just her movies. You're not allowed to watch her movies anymore.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking.
I know it's a tough one, man. I'm not sure what it would take to break me off of Star Wars. There's probably something. But that's a tough, like it would hurt. It would hurt.
Yeah. Anna Iglesias is really good for starting our Slack day off with a meme of you can only pick whatever, or one of these has to go, or something like that. Just kind of to start the daily discourse off. This was cruel, John. I know, but you only get to pick one. So this is very much an Anna meme. Which one is going to go? And you're like, oh man, Kira's going to hate me.
But now I'm thinking like I might not have my super close friendship with Amy without Kira. So like that's
you're right. Amy's just meant anyway.
Yeah, she's gone now, which is why you're okay.
Exactly. She's not here.
You feel okay saying
that.
I really can only talk crap. Look, if I'm going to talk crap about you, at least I'm going to have the decency to do it behind your back so you don't have to listen to it.
Oh, okay. Potter's gone.
Oh, man. Oh, man. You know what? I think I'm taking D&D.
Wow.
I think I am, but it hurts my soul to say that. I feel you, John.
Yeah. Like
that was a good one, Potter. Thank you for that.
And the truth is, because I mean, it's funny because I always say like, nothing compares to my absolute, sheer obsession over Lord of the Rings, and sometimes from the Here Be Dragons group, I get people like, really, your love of Lord of the Rings seems to be like nothing compared to your obsession with Keira. But that's only because I felt comfortable. That's only because I felt comfortable like letting you in on, because that wasn't like a fandom, the whole Keira Knightley thing is I didn't feel comfortable waving that flag before I met all you guys. So that's why you've gotten more of that. But in all honesty, like you guys should have seen me like back in my prime of obsessing over Lord of the Rings. It was like to the level of sheer annoyance. It was
like I was when I started deconstructing A Song of Ice and Fire. My mom would be like, you know what the most common word you say is in Game of Thrones, and then whatever comes after that. So I'm sure I did my mom for a little while.
Yeah.
But I seriously watched like the first year that Fellowship is out. Like it hadn't even come out on DVD yet. I had like, and I hope I'm not like getting myself into legal trouble by saying this, but I did have a bootleg copy from the internet. And like, I was so, I had watched it like just that copy so much that my parents were like, we can't take this anymore. Can you just like watch it in your room or something? And that was before it had officially become on DVD. So, it got even worse by that point.
Oh my God. John, lawful good, John Webster broke the law to watch.
And king of physical media too. He's like, I'm gonna get a bootleg copy.
I'm getting a bootleg copy.
It wasn't out yet. I didn't have the option of purchasing the physical media.
You will break the law for Lord of the Rings. That is,
yeah. When you act against your alignment, that's some serious dedication, man.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
we're going on
earlier. Nessie, I have not felt great all day. I think I'm reaching my limit here. So
yeah, I was just about to get ready to sign off. It's about time, guys. We've had a great time. You both, of course, are phenomenal guests, which I love to have talking about any topic, but this one especially, since I know it was just near and close to both of your hearts. I couldn't have asked for better people to come on and share this topic with. And I do appreciate that you were open about this. It's very personal to both of you. So thank you very much for coming and sharing this with all of our friends and everyone on the internet. So we said a few things during the mid-roll. If there's anything you guys want to plug, or we both got the upcoming schedule coming up. Soon we're going to be hitting a landmark on the HBD channel.
I will. You know what? This is as good a time as any to mention it. 100th episode of Here Be Dragons is coming up soon. John and Nessie, of course, you're going to be there for that. It is May 2nd, and we are giving away multiple hundreds of dollars worth of prizes during that stream. So come to the stream, win free stuff, and yeah, you will. It's going to be awesome. Let's go a little ways off this weekend. Cecilia,
are we divulging yet? You know
what? If you want to talk about it, go ahead. I don't care.
Okay, so like, and
we're all throwing something in, so we've got some great prizes.
This is wonderfully on brand for what I've talked about. I will be giving away a 3-pack of Blu-rays for everybody. It's physical media. So I hope you have a Blu-ray player if you're getting in for this. And oh my God, shocker of all shockers, you guys know what you're in for with these Blu-ray selections. You will get a 3-pack of the films starring Keira Knightley and directed by Joe Wright. We've got Pride and Prejudice.
Yay!
Atonement.
Yay!
And Anna Karenina. These are my copies. You're not actually getting these ones. I will order them on Amazon for you, so you might actually not get these shiny slipcovers, but I promise you the movies are just as great without them. Oh, no. Kate, don't say that. But no, these are wonderful films, obviously, because I talk about them enough. But yeah, John, so I'll be giving those.
You should order yourself new ones and give away those copies. Signed.
No, you're not getting my fancy slipcovers.
Okay. I tried, folks. I tried.
Steven, what are you giving away?
I have a $100 gift certificate to Sanri's Threadless shop, sanrixian.threadless.com. Sanri, obviously, like the first ever. She was on the first ever episode of anything on this channel, on my channel.
And my channel.
We're okay, and your channel. So like, we're coming up on episode 100. Sanri was on episode 1, and as a way of saying thank you for all of her support over the years. Yeah, $100 gift card to her Threadless shop, where you can get T-shirts and mugs and bath mats and shower curtains and leggings and all kind of stuff. One lucky person will get a $100 gift certificate. What about you, Nessie?
Well, I am going to be giving away the golden ticket. I've got a ticket for Con of Thrones this year that's going to be held in Orlando. So, yeah, got a Con of Thrones ticket going to throw it in the mix. So, that's going to round it out. Yeah. So, one lucky winner will get a Con of Thrones ticket.
I don't want to be accused of false advertising, so here's what you can actually expect.
He just reaches around to get his other 3 copies, or one set of his other three copies. So, but yeah,
I will say
appreciation for you guys for hanging around for 100 episodes, and we love you all, and get some good swag.
Yeah, Leaf just dropped a link to Sannery's Threadless shop if you guys want to do some window shopping ahead of time. And, feel free to buy a t-shirt or whatever, but know that you can win a $100 gift certificate to her Threadless shop.
Yep. Sanrixian is just making the fandom more and more beautiful with every shirt that she sells.
I'm not wearing one right now, but I've got a mask.
I've got a great selection within arm's reach, but
so I got this mask from her Threadless shop and my coffee mug. How will they work, Kate? We're not 100% sure, but we're probably going to just have people email us their, if you want to win this, email the official channel email with put this in the title line. I'll count how many entries we get and do a random number generator.
We're not going to make you sing and dance.
Yeah, and this will be open to everyone everywhere. Okay, will it not?
Subscribers.
What?
I thought we were doing just subscribers.
Well, yeah, okay, subscribers, yes. But if you were a subscriber in Europe, Mexico, Canada, the Caribbean, whatever, Australia, New Zealand, we will send it to you. You just have to be subscribed to quote unquote my channel, Here Be Dragons.
And if you're from New Zealand, I will be sending myself along in a box,
right,
as well. Special gift. No, anyway, as for what is coming up, obviously, as I've said to you guys, I still have the podcast, which is coming. I've got the video version ready for the first episode, so I just have to fine tune the audio. I'm trying to decide if I want some music, some intro music for the podcast, because I just can't figure out what to use. But we'll see. And also, since we talked about Lord of the Rings in the stream, I want to go ahead and promote, in case some of you haven't seen it before. Last year, I had a very interesting talk with Mr. Doug Adams. No, not that one, but a fellow who wrote the book, the music of the Lord of the Rings films. He worked very closely with Howard Shore on the music of those films. And so go ahead and check out that stream over on my channel, JohnWebsterFilm. You might.
Touche, Matthew. I love it.
But no, my interview with Doug was amazing. Probably the most fun I've ever had. Sorry, guys. That sounds horrible.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a great interview, and we got talking in detail about all of Howard Shore's music for the films. So go check that out.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Unspun Yarn. Thanks again for coming. Thanks, guys. I appreciated all your input, and we'll see you real soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.